Welcome back to Top 5.
Scott La Rock's death marked a tragic turning point for the hip-hop community. On August 27, 1987, at the age of 25, Scott was shot in New York City, New York. The incident occurred as he tried to mediate a dispute involving a friend. A bullet pierced through the car in which Scott was sitting, taking his life. The shooter, whose identity remained ambiguous for years, was eventually arrested and sentenced to 25 years to life. This loss devastated Scott's peers and fans, silencing a voice that had been instrumental in shaping the early hip-hop scene. Paul C. met a similar fate just 2 years later on July 17, 1989, in New York City. The 24-year-old producer, known for his groundbreaking work in hip-hop, was shot in his own home. His death sparked an investigation that unveiled a dispute over royalties as the likely motive. Though multiple suspects were questioned, the case went cold for decades. When evidence finally surfaced, the perpetrator was sentenced to 30 years for second-degree murder, offering some closure to a grieving community. Danny D-Boy Rodriguez was only 22 when he was gunned down on October 6, 1990, in Dallas, Texas. Known for his inspirational Christian rap, Danny's murder was reportedly the result of a random act of violence. A young gang member, trying to gain notoriety, later confessed to the crime. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, leaving fans and loved ones to grapple with the senseless nature of Danny's untimely demise. Charisma's promising career was cut short on December 16, 1993, when the 20-year-old was shot in East Palo Alto, California. His murder was linked to a robbery gone wrong, as Charisma was targeted for his flashy attire and rising fame. The assailant was arrested shortly after and sentenced to 40 years in prison, a penalty that reflected the community's outrage at losing a young talent on the brink of stardom. Stretch, a close associate of Tupac Shakur, met his end on November 30, 1995, in New York City. At 27 years old, he was shot in a drive-by, with many speculating the murder was a retaliatory act linked to the East Coast-West Coast rivalry in hip-hop. Despite numerous theories, the case remains unsolved, leaving a lingering shadow over Stretch's legacy and the volatile era of hip-hop in which he thrived. Seagram, an influential rapper from Oakland, California, was gunned down on July 31, 1996, at the age of 26. Known for his raw storytelling, Seagram's death was attributed to gang-related violence. His killer, apprehended a year later, was sentenced to life imprisonment. This tragic loss underscored the dangerous intersection of art and reality in Seagram's work. Tupac Shakur's death on September 13, 1996, sent shockwaves around the world. The 25-year-old was fatally wounded in a drive-by shooting in Las Vegas, Nevada, after attending a Mike Tyson boxing match. The circumstances surrounding Tupac's murder remain steeped in mystery and conspiracy theories. The suspected perpetrator, linked to gang disputes, was never formally charged. Tupac's murder remains one of the most infamous unsolved cases in music history, symbolizing the destructive power of violence in the industry. G Slim's promising future was cut short on October 13, 1996, in New Orleans, Louisiana. The 21-year-old rapper was shot while visiting his old neighborhood. Authorities tied his murder to escalating local gang tensions. The shooter, apprehended years later, was convicted and sentenced to 35 years. G Slim's death became a cautionary tale about the dangers artists face when returning to environments fraught with conflict. The notorious B.I.G, a titan of hip-hop, was killed in a drive-by shooting on March 9, 1997, in Los Angeles, California. At just 24 years old, Biggie's murder mirrored the tragic end of his rival, Tupac, fueling further speculation about East Coast-West Coast feuds. Despite extensive investigations, no arrests were made, and the case remains unresolved. Biggie's death left an irreplaceable void in the music world, cementing his legacy as a legend taken too soon. Fat Pat was murdered on February 3, 1998, in Houston, Texas. The 27-year-old was visiting a friend when an altercation erupted, leading to his fatal shooting. The shooter claimed self-defense, but witnesses disputed the account. Convicted of second-degree murder, the assailant received a 25-year sentence. Fat Pat's death highlighted the volatility of interpersonal conflicts within the industry and the heavy toll they take. Big L was gunned down on February 15, 1999, at the age of 24 in New York City. A series of retaliatory shootings culminated in Big L's murder, which police later tied to a feud involving his brother. The suspected shooter, apprehended years later, was charged but acquitted due to lack of evidence. Big L's murder remains unresolved, leaving fans to mourn the unfulfilled potential of one of hip-hop's sharpest lyricists. DJ Uncle AL's murder on September 10, 2001, shook Miami, Florida. At 32 years old, Uncle Al was beloved for his contributions to the Miami bass scene and his community outreach. Tragically, his life ended when he was shot at a block party he organized to promote peace. Witnesses were initially hesitant to speak out, but the shooter was eventually identified as a disgruntled local gang member. The perpetrator was sentenced to life without parole, but the loss of Uncle Al left a deep void in his community and the music world. Jam Master Jay's death on October 30, 2002, in New York City stunned fans worldwide. At 37, the Run DMC DJ was a trailblazer in hip-hop. He was fatally shot in his Queens studio in what investigators later called a targeted killing. After nearly 2 decades, 2 men were charged with Jay's murder, tied to a drug trafficking dispute. Their sentencing brought some resolution to a case that had haunted the hip-hop community for years. Despite this, the motive remains a source of speculation, further cementing the tragedy of losing one of hip-hop's pioneers. Sabotage, a Brazilian rapper, was gunned down in São Paulo on January 24, 2003, at 29 years old. Known for his socially conscious lyrics and advocacy for marginalized communities, Sabotage's death was linked to his attempts to expose corruption in local criminal networks. The shooter, a rival involved in illicit activities, was arrested and sentenced to 40 years in prison. Sabotage's murder highlighted the dangers faced by artists who used their platform to challenge societal ills, leaving a legacy of bravery and activism. Camouflage, an up-and-coming rapper from Savannah, Georgia, was shot and killed outside his recording studio on May 19, 2003. At just 21 years old, his career was on the rise. Investigators determined the murder stemmed from a long-standing gang rivalry. The shooter, caught after a year-long investigation, was sentenced to 50 years for first-degree murder. Camouflage's death served as a grim reminder of the perilous line many artists walk between their past and their aspirations for a better future. Soulja Slim, a New Orleans rap icon, was killed on November 26, 2003, at the age of 26. He was shot multiple times on the front lawn of his mother's home in a crime that devastated his city. The suspected gunman was arrested but released due to lack of evidence, leaving Slim's murder officially unsolved. Many believe his death was a result of financial disputes within the industry. Soulja Slim's loss was a blow to Southern rap and underscored the harsh realities many artists face. Mac Dre, a Bay Area legend, was fatally shot on November 1, 2004, while traveling in Kansas City, Missouri. The 34-year-old pioneer of hi-fi music was killed in what police suspect was a botched robbery or gang-related altercation. Despite numerous leads, no one was ever charged in connection with his murder. Mac Dre's death left an indelible mark on West Coast hip-hop, cutting short a career that was pivotal to the regional sound. Papa Touch, a Surinamese rapper, met his end on June 9, 2005, in Paramaribo, Suriname. At 36 years old, he was a vocal critic of corruption and injustice in his country, which some believe contributed to his murder. Shot in broad daylight by a hitman, the crime was traced to political rivals angered by his outspokenness. The assassin received a life sentence, but Papa Touch's death highlighted the dangerous intersection of art and activism. Proof, a founding member of D12 and a close friend of Eminem, was killed on April 11, 2006, in Detroit, Michigan. At 32, Proof was shot during an argument at a nightclub. The altercation escalated, leading to a tragic exchange of gunfire. His shooter claimed self-defense but was sentenced to a reduced charge of manslaughter. Proof's death was a devastating blow to the Detroit rap scene and a stark reminder of how quickly violence can erupt. Big Hawk's murder on May 1, 2006, in Houston, Texas, further exemplified the dangers rappers face. At 36, Hawk was an influential figure in Southern hip-hop. He was ambushed and shot while visiting a friend, with the crime believed to be linked to unresolved disputes. Despite years of investigation, his killer was never identified, leaving the case cold. Hawk's death was a significant loss for Houston's music community. Dala, a promising young rapper, was gunned down on May 18, 2009, in Los Angeles, California. At just 21 years old, he was killed outside a shopping mall in a dispute that reportedly began weeks earlier. His shooter claimed self-defense and was acquitted, sparking outrage among fans and family. Dala's untimely death highlighted the precarious nature of rising fame in an industry fraught with personal and professional tensions. Speed Freaks, a Brazilian artist, was fatally shot on March 26, 2010, in Niterói, Rio de Janeiro. At 37, Speed Freaks was celebrated for his innovative approach to music. His murder was attributed to a robbery gone wrong. The perpetrator, apprehended shortly after, was sentenced to life imprisonment. Speed Freak's death served as a chilling reminder of the pervasive violence affecting artists globally. Lele's life ended on July 1, 2010, in Trujillo Alto, Puerto Rico. At just 23, Lele was killed in a drive-by shooting linked to escalating tensions within the music scene. The assailants, believed to be part of a rival group, were later arrested and sentenced to lengthy prison terms. Lele's death was mourned by fans who had hoped to see him rise to greater heights in his burgeoning career. Messi Maya, a rising voice in New Orleans known for his comedic YouTube videos and rap music, was brutally gunned down on November 14, 2010. At just 22 years old, his career was just beginning to take off. Messi Maya was leaving a baby shower for his girlfriend when he was ambushed by gunmen on the street. Investigators linked the killing to a personal dispute involving local gangs, but no arrests were made due to lack of evidence and uncooperative witnesses. Messi Maya's murder devastated his community, cutting short a life full of talent and potential. Magnolia Shorty, another New Orleans native and a pioneer in bounce music, was murdered on December 20, 2010, at the age of 28. She and a friend were driving through a neighborhood when gunmen riddled their car with bullets. Over 20 gunshots were fired, killing both victims instantly. Authorities determined the attack was gang-related, with Magnolia Shorty tragically caught in the crossfire. Several men were later arrested and convicted in connection with the murders as part of a broader investigation into gang activity. Her death left an indelible mark on the bounce music scene, robbing it of one of its most influential voices. Bad News Brown, a Montreal-based rapper and harmonica player, was killed on February 11, 2011. At 33 years old, he was known for his unique fusion of hip-hop and blues. His body was discovered in an alley, showing signs of a brutal attack. The case baffled investigators, who speculated that the murder might have been linked to a robbery or personal conflict. To this day, Bad News Brown's murder remains unsolved, leaving his family and fans to grapple with unanswered questions about the loss of such a distinctive artist. Adán Zapata, a young Mexican rapper, was shot and killed on June 1, 2012, in San Nicolas de los Garza, Mexico. At just 21, Zapata was part of the burgeoning regional rap scene and had amassed a loyal following. He and 3 friends were ambushed by gunmen in what authorities described as a targeted hit. The motive remains unclear, though some speculated it was related to the violent drug cartels operating in the area. No arrests were made, leaving his murder as yet another tragedy in a region plagued by violence. Lil Jojo, an 18-year-old Chicago rapper, was gunned down on September 4, 2012, in a drive-by shooting. His murder was widely believed to be connected to a feud between rival rap crews, which had spilled over into real-life violence. Lil Jojo had gained notoriety for his music, which often taunted his rivals. Despite public outcry and speculation about the involvement of specific individuals, no one was charged in his killing. The case highlighted the deadly intersection of music, social media, and gang culture in Chicago. MC Deleste, a 20-year-old Brazilian funk artist, was shot and killed on July 7, 2013, while performing on stage in Paulínia, Brazil. The horrifying incident was caught on video as Deleste collapsed mid-performance after being struck by a bullet. The gunman, believed to have fired from the crowd, was never apprehended. His death sparked outrage in Brazil, shining a light on the violence that often surrounds the country's music scene and claiming the life of a promising artist. Lil Snoop, another young rapper with a bright future, was murdered on June 20, 2013, in Winfield, Louisiana. At just 18, Lil Snoop had recently signed to Meek Mill's label and was gaining recognition for his lyrical talent. His death stemmed from an argument over a video game bet that escalated into violence. The shooter, a local man, was arrested and sentenced to life in prison. Lil Snoop's death was a stark reminder of how trivial disputes can spiral into tragedy. Pavlos Fyssas, a Greek rapper and anti-fascist activist, was stabbed to death on September 18, 2013, in Karatsini, Greece. At 34 years old, Fyssas, known as Killa P, was a vocal critic of far-right politics and racism. His murder was carried out by a member of the neo-Nazi party Golden Dawn, igniting nationwide protests and outrage. The perpetrator was arrested and sentenced to life imprisonment, while the trial of Golden Dawn leaders exposed the party's criminal activities, leading to its eventual designation as a criminal organization. Fyssas's death became a symbol of resistance against extremism in Greece. Debsman, an 18-year-old grime artist from Birmingham, England, was stabbed to death on September 21, 2013. He was attending a memorial event for a friend when a fight broke out, leading to the fatal stabbing. The assailant, a known gang member, was quickly apprehended and sentenced to life imprisonment. Debsman's murder sent shockwaves through the UK grime scene, cutting short the life of a talented artist on the brink of major success. The Jacka, a respected figure in the Bay Area rap scene, was killed on February 2, 2015, in Oakland, California. At 37, the Jacka was celebrated for his introspective lyrics and contributions to West Coast hip-hop. He was shot in a drive-by attack, which police linked to gang violence, though no suspects were ever charged. His murder remains unsolved, leaving fans and loved ones mourning the loss of a beloved artist. Chinx, a Queens-based rapper, was gunned down on May 17, 2015, in New York City at the age of 31. Known for his collaborations with French Montana and the Coke Boys, Chinx was shot in his car during what police believe to be a targeted attack. Years later, 2 men were arrested and charged with his murder, reportedly motivated by jealousy and a past dispute. Their conviction brought some closure to a case that had long haunted the rap community. Bankroll Fresh, an Atlanta rapper, was shot and killed on March 4, 2016, at 28 years old. The shooting occurred outside a recording studio during an argument with another individual. The men involved claimed self-defense, and no charges were filed, leaving many fans frustrated by the lack of accountability. Bankroll Fresh's death was yet another example of violence cutting short a promising career. Mr. 3-2, a Houston hip-hop veteran, was shot to death on November 10, 2016, at the age of 44. Known for his collaborations with prominent Southern rappers, Mr. 3-2 was killed during an altercation with an acquaintance. The shooter was arrested and sentenced to 45 years in prison. His death marked the end of an era for many fans of classic Houston rap. XXXTentacion, born Yase Onfroy, was a polarizing yet undeniably talented artist whose career was skyrocketing before his life was tragically cut short. On June 18, 2018, at the age of 20, he was ambushed outside a motorcycle dealership in Deerfield Beach, Florida. Surveillance footage captured 2 armed men approaching his car in an apparent robbery. They stole a Louis Vuitton bag containing $50,000 in cash before fatally shooting the rapper. The assailants fled the scene, but a subsequent investigation led to the arrest and conviction of 4 individuals involved. XXXTentacion's murder highlighted the increasing risks faced by young artists who flaunt their wealth in an era of social media, leaving fans and loved ones mourning a complicated figure with unrealized potential. Jimmy Wopo, a Pittsburgh-based rapper with a growing fan base, met a similar fate just hours after XXXTentacion's death. On June 18, 2018, the 21-year-old was gunned down in a drive-by shooting in his hometown. Known for his gritty lyrics that reflected life in Pittsburgh's Hill District, Wopo was regarded as a beacon of hope for his community. The attack, which also injured another passenger in his car, was believed to be gang-related, though no arrests were made. Wopo's death underscored the challenges faced by artists trying to escape the environments they grew up in, only to find themselves entangled in the very violence they sought to rise above. Smoke Dogg, a Canadian rapper and member of the Toronto-based Halal Gang, was killed on June 30, 2018. The 21-year-old was shot outside a nightclub in downtown Toronto in what authorities described as a targeted attack. Smoke Dogg had been gaining international attention after touring with Drake and was considered a rising star in Canada's rap scene. 2 men were arrested and convicted in connection to his murder, but the loss of Smoke Dogg left a void in the burgeoning Toronto hip-hop community. Young Greatness, known for his hit single Moolah, was gunned down on October 29, 2018, in New Orleans, Louisiana. The 34-year-old was shot outside a Waffle House in what police described as an apparent robbery. His murder shocked fans and fellow artists, as young greatness had long advocated for uplifting his community. Despite leads in the case, no suspects were apprehended, leaving his family and supporters to grieve without closure. B.I.G, a beloved Dutch rapper, was killed in a shooting in Rotterdam, Netherlands, on January 1, 2019. The 32-year-old artist, whose music often touched on themes of perseverance and resilience, was caught in a violent dispute outside a nightclub. Authorities arrested and convicted multiple individuals involved in the altercation, but the loss of B.I.G reverberated across the Dutch rap scene, where he had been a mentor to many up-and-coming artists. Kevin Fret, a Puerto Rican rapper and outspoken advocate for LGBTQ+ rights, was murdered on January 10, 2019, in San Juan. At 24 years old, Kevin Fret was known for breaking barriers in the Latin trap genre with his unapologetic style and activism. He was shot while riding a motorcycle, with investigators suspecting the killing was a hate crime or linked to ongoing tensions in the music industry. No arrests were made, and his murder remains unsolved, highlighting the risks faced by those challenging societal norms in conservative cultures. Nipsey Hussle, a celebrated rapper, entrepreneur, and activist, was fatally shot on March 31, 2019, outside his Marathon clothing store in Los Angeles. The 33-year-old had become a beacon of hope in his community, using his platform to promote economic empowerment and unity. His murder, carried out by a man he had known personally, stemmed from a personal dispute. The assailant was arrested and later convicted of first-degree murder. Nipsey Hussle's death was a devastating blow, not just to his fans but to the many lives he had touched through his music and philanthropy. His legacy endures as a symbol of resilience and progress. RS, an 18-year-old aspiring rapper from Amsterdam, was stabbed to death on September 3, 2019. The altercation, believed to be gang-related, took place in a busy area, shocking bystanders. The young artist's promising career was cut short before it could truly begin. Authorities apprehended the assailant, who was later sentenced to a lengthy prison term. RS' death added to the growing concerns about violence in Amsterdam's music scene, where tensions between rival groups often escalate into deadly confrontations. Pop Smoke, one of the most prominent voices in the Brooklyn drill movement, was murdered on February 19, 2020, during a home invasion in Los Angeles. The 20-year-old was staying in a rented mansion when a group of armed men broke in, allegedly targeting him for robbery. Pop Smoke was shot multiple times, succumbing to his injuries. Investigators later arrested and charged 5 individuals, including juveniles, in connection to the killing. Pop Smoke's untimely death marked a significant loss for the hip-hop world, as the young artist was poised for international stardom. Houdini, a rising Toronto rapper, was shot and killed on May 26, 2020, in the city's entertainment district. The 21-year-old artist was ambushed in broad daylight, with multiple assailants firing over 20 rounds in a chaotic scene that endangered bystanders. The attack was believed to be gang-related, stemming from long-standing rivalries. Despite arrests and convictions of those involved, Houdini's death was a grim reminder of the dangers that linger in the lives of even successful artists. Fans mourned the loss of a promising figure in Canada's burgeoning hip-hop scene. Huey, best known for his 2006 hit pop, Lock and Drop It, was shot and killed on June 25, 2020, in Kinloch, Missouri. At the age of 31, Huey was gunned down outside a friend's home, with authorities describing the incident as a targeted attack. One other individual was injured in the shooting. Huey's death was a tragic end to the life of an artist whose music had become an anthem for an era. While the investigation led to some leads, no arrests were made, leaving his family without justice. King Von, an influential voice in Chicago drill music, was killed on November 6, 2020, in Atlanta. The 26-year-old rapper was involved in a fight outside a nightclub when gunfire erupted, leaving him fatally wounded. The altercation escalated between his group and that of another artist, with authorities later arresting and charging an individual in connection to his death. King Von's storytelling prowess and lyrical skill had positioned him as a leader in the drill movement, and his death sent shockwaves through the hip-hop community. Mo3, a Dallas-based rapper known for his emotional storytelling, was gunned down on November 11, 2020, in a brazen attack on a highway. The 28-year-old was pursued by his assailant after being spotted leaving a woman's home. Mo3 attempted to flee on foot but was shot multiple times in broad daylight. Police arrested a suspect, who was later convicted of his murder. Mo3's death highlighted the increasing brazenness of violence targeting high-profile figures, leaving fans to mourn the loss of his unique voice. Einar, a Swedish rapper who had achieved massive success in his home country, was shot dead on October 21, 2021, in Stockholm. At just 19 years old, Einar had already won multiple awards and captured the hearts of fans with his melodic style and introspective lyrics. His murder was believed to be tied to a prior kidnapping incident involving rival gangs. Multiple suspects were arrested and charged, but Einar's death reignited debates about gang violence and its intersection with Sweden's music industry. Young Dolph, a beloved Memphis rapper, was tragically killed on November 17, 2021, at a local bakery he frequented. The 36-year-old was ambushed by two gunmen while purchasing cookies for his mother. Young Dolph, who had long been a symbol of independence in the music industry, left behind a legacy of resilience and generosity. Authorities apprehended and charged multiple suspects in connection with his murder. The news of his death devastated fans and the Memphis community, where he had invested heavily in giving back. Drakeo the Ruler, a Los Angeles rapper known for his unique flow and cutting-edge lyricism, was stabbed to death on December 19, 2021, during a music festival. The 28-year-old was attacked backstage in what authorities described as a targeted assault involving a large group. Despite a chaotic scene with many witnesses, no arrests were made, and the case remains unsolved. Drakeo's death marked a significant loss for West Coast hip-hop, where his innovative style had been pushing the genre's boundaries. Snooty Wild, a rapper who rose to fame with his hit Yayo, was fatally shot on February 27, 2022, in Houston, Texas. The 36-year-old was found wounded in a ditch near his vehicle, and authorities believe the shooting stemmed from an argument. While arrests were made, the motive behind his killing remains murky. Snooty Wild's death was yet another blow to a hip-hop community still reeling from the loss of many of its stars. Gunu, a Maryland rapper known for his distinctive flow, was shot and killed on March 18, 2022, in Prince George's County. The 24-year-old was ambushed in a parking lot, with police later determining the attack was gang-related. Gunu's family and fans were left devastated, particularly after a controversial posthumous tribute where his embalmed body was displayed at a nightclub. His death was a grim reminder of the violence plaguing the rap industry. Archie Eversole, famous for his anthem We Ready, was fatally shot on April 5, 2022, in Decatur, Georgia. The 37-year-old artist's death sent shockwaves through the sports world, where his music had become a staple. Authorities charged his brother with the murder, citing a domestic dispute as the cause. Archie's untimely death marked the end of a career that had inspired countless fans with its uplifting energy. Sidhu Moosewala, a global Punjabi music icon, was shot dead on May 29, 2022, in Mansa, Punjab, India. The 28-year-old was ambushed in his car by assailants armed with assault rifles, with his death tied to gang violence. Sidhu's murder led to widespread protests and international outrage, with authorities arresting multiple suspects linked to the attack. His death was a monumental loss for the Punjabi music scene and the global diaspora, where his songs resonated deeply.